Chester County just approved a $677,000 grant for the Westchester Open Air Market. This is part of the Community Revitalization Program. This is a lot of money getting donated to Westchester, and it's contingent on the borough matching 25% of the grant, so another $169,000 that would need to come into play here, and it's all to redevelop that section of Gay Street between Matlack and Darlington where they have the Westchester Open Air Market. So I was chatting with Nick before, who lives in Westchester Borough, and this open air market, if you're not familiar with it, you've got a farmer's market, you've got cafe and street dining outside. It all started during the 2020 pandemic when Westchester decided to open up Gay Street and shut it down. So shut it down to traffic, open it up to vendors and restaurants so these folks could open their services up and people could socially distance outside. And it's turned into something very similar to Dining Under the Stars and Media, or a lot of the other open air concepts that are in boroughs and downtown areas like Westchester. So I love the idea of this grant, and I hope the borough does the right thing and matches the 25% that's required for the grant. Now with it, I mean, you think about all the things that happen in downtown Westchester. You've got the Christmas market that opens up in December. Every Saturday there's that farmer's market there from, I believe it's Memorial Day up until Labor Day. You have all the shops that come out. You have First Fridays in Westchester. You have Oktoberfest that's coming up. The chili cook-off. There's all these great events, which has made Westchester kind of a destination. And the challenge is, I want to know what they're going to do with the money if they get the grant approved. The biggest issue in Westchester I see is parking for most folks. Unless you live in the borough and can park somewhere, and Nick and his wife and his son live in the borough, that parking was a big deal for them. If they didn't have parking, we probably weren't looking at the house when they bought it a few years ago. Parking for residents outside of the borough is really challenging. You've got the major parking garage right at the courthouse, which is great, but that's kind of a far walk from a lot of places. And they're building more and more in Westchester, where if you look at Westchester Crossing, the Toll Brothers development off North Bradford and Stroudsburg Road, we're seeing all this development come down there. And you've got all these different restaurants, cafes, bars, all those commercial attractions. There's just not enough parking. So when the Planning Commission was asked what they were thinking about using this $677,000 grant for, the answers were a public bathroom, which I think will be a big help because that way these local businesses aren't stuck with people coming in and out using the bathroom there, streetscaping, and barricades to make it safely secluded when they open the street up and they close down traffic. The other thing that came up was like some planters. I see the obvious need here as more parking in the borough, which would be the best use because parking is a nightmare there, and Westchester Borough does not hesitate on issuing tickets. And the more you can make it friendly for people to come into Westchester and spend their disposable income and continue to support these local businesses, the more the area is going to grow. Because if you look at Chester County and Westchester in general, there's not that public transportation into the city. Even driving into the city is quite a long ride. So you've got this destination town with all these great places people like to go frequent. And it's become that sort of environment there where it wasn't like this 10, 15, 20 years ago. The more you can invest in parking in the borough, the better off you're going to be. So when you see this kind of money coming in, like it's great to say I'm going to put new barricades in or some planters down or some streetscaping. And Westchester's an old town, so the streetscaping could be very well utilized. I'd love to see more investment in parking because that's the biggest challenge here. I mean, you think about all this money coming in, I'd also be questioning what the local businesses want. Are they going to be able to maintain rents as commercial rents continue to rise? Are they going to be able to maintain staffing expenses as this continues to grow? And are there other events that you can have down there? Like First Friday has a lot of bands playing and local music. This to me should be something that's going on every weekend to continue to attract people when it's warm out. Make sure, I like the Oktoberfest idea, the Christmas parade, the Christmas market, all that stuff's great. And the more you can bring more people from outside the borough into town on the weekends and evenings, the better off the entire borough is going to be. But if there's not enough parking, it's going to be a challenge. So I'd like to see this. I mean, the grant's exciting. Like, there's a lot of local businesses that come in there. You've got local merchants. This is what you want to see happening in towns like Westchester, in our local community. They need more parking in the borough. It's plain and simple. So, because think about the amount of people that are coming in for these events. You don't just have the people that you want to spend money. You've got the people that are going to work coming in. Waiters and waitresses, service industry, the other folks that are selling things on the street, the vendors at the farmers market. Parking's going to be a real issue, and it's going to create even more problems for the residents of the borough because now they're getting jammed up in all the residential streets. You've got the college kids down at Westchester University. There's a whole lot of issues that come around without having proper parking for this kind of event. So I really want to stress that's where I hope this grant money gets spent. We'll see what happens, and if the borough's going to match the grant. Remember, it's 25%, so it's another $169,000. We'll come back to this one. A great thing happening for Westchester. Let's just hope they invest in the proper infrastructure.